We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Softball Through the Decades. Tonight we have the most recent decade of Bucknell softball graduates, the decade of the 2010s, joining head coach Sarah Caffrey and one of our current student athletes here at Bucknell, Jasmine Stokes. Jasmine is a senior infielder from Herndon, Virginia, and we're thankful for her to get on the call this evening. I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor. Geisinger has done a tremendous job throughout the pandemic. And as always, day in and day out, they do a great job with our student athletes here at Bucknell. So thank you to Geisinger. My name's Todd Newcomb, and without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest, and then I'll turn it over to Coach and Jasmine for the questions. Our first guest from the class of 2015 is Sydney Sanders. She was a four-year letter winner and All-Patriot League first-team selection in both 2013 and 2014, and a second-team choice in 2015. She was named to the Patriot League's All-Tournament team in 2014. She was also a NFCA All-Region second-team selection that year. She was a three-time member of the Academic All-Patriot League team. She was the Patriot League Softball Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2014, and she received the Bison Club Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2015 as well is Kristen Zahn. She was a four-year letter winner, an All-Patriot League second-team selection in both 2013 and 2014, and an All-Patriot League first-team choice in 2015, where she was also the Patriot League Player of the Year. She was an ECAC first-team All-Star in 2015, an NFCA All-Region second-team selection in 2015. She was also selected to the Patriot League's 25th All-Anniversary team. Kristen received the John F. Zeller Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2016, Amanda Fazio, a four-year letter winner, All-Patriot League second team in 2013, and an All-Patriot League first team selection in 2016. She was selected to the Patriot League's All-Tournament team three times during her career. Amanda was an ECAC second team All-Star in 2016, a three-time member of the Academic All-Patriot League team. She was the Patriot League Softball Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2016, and was also an Academic All-District team selection that year. Amanda received the Brian Humphreys and Ray Bucknell Awards at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2018, Meghan Kovac. Meghan was an All-Patriot League second team selection in 2017 and a first team choice in 2016 and 2018. She was selected to the Patriot League's All-Tournament team in both 2015 and 2018. She was an ECAC first team All-Star selection in 2016. She earned the Patriot League's Outstanding Leadership and Character Award in 2018, and she was highly involved with the SAC program here at Bucknell. She also received the John F. Zeller Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. And our final guest from the class of 2020, Raeanne Geffert, a four-year letter winner, an All-Patriot League first-team selection in 2018 and a second-team choice in both 2017 and 2019. She was a two-time member of the All-Academic team, and she received the Bradley N. Tufts Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. So, Sarah, we've got a good group. I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's have some fun.
Yes, excited to talk to you guys. Some of you are very, very familiar faces. Unfortunately, some of you not in a good way, especially two pitchers on this call. Not a huge fan of you from my time at Penn State, but you had tremendous careers, and I remember you guys big time. Kovac, I remember you always hitting a home run at Penn State, always. So it's nice to see you guys on this call. I'm super excited to get to know you guys better. And basically what I wanted to do is just go around and have you guys share a little bit about what you're doing now, where you're located, what your family situation's like, just kind of tell us a little bit more about kind of your situation, and then we can kind of go from there. So I can go in order of my screen. So I would put, I can't see you as anyone other than Fazio. I know you have a first name, but I feel like you're just Fazio to me. So if you want to kick it off, you're kind of the first one on my view.
Yeah, definitely. That's fine. I still go by that now a lot of times. So yeah, I'm currently in Knoxville, Tennessee. After graduating, I coached in college softball for about 3 years at Denison University in Ohio, and then Colgate University, so a Patriot League foe for the last 2 years. And then now I'm in my second year as the graduate assistant for the Tennessee softball program. So softball is obviously still a really big part of my life. And I'm getting my master's in sports psychology and motor behavior. So I spend some free time that I do have working with youth baseball players in Knoxville, specifically with sports psychology. So that's been pretty awesome. I love Knoxville personally, and I have a 4-legged son now. So he's currently being enticed by a bone. So hopefully it'll be quiet the whole call.
Love that. Meghan, you are next.
Goodness. So after graduation, I went and got my master's in sports leadership from Northeastern and was working up there. And sticking along with the Colgate trend, I'm currently the director of student athlete development at Colgate University, which is kind of ironic because for some of my teammates on this call probably know that I was not the biggest Colgate fan when I was at Bucknell, to say the least. But yeah, so I'm at Colgate, living in Hamilton, New York. So definitely kind of very similar to Lewisburg, but absolutely loving it. It's great being in the Patriot League and working with Patriot League student athletes because, as everyone on this call knows, they're a different breed of human being. So every day is super exciting and a challenge, which is awesome. I've been trying to pull the plug on getting a 4-legged child. It just hasn't happened yet. So one day I will hopefully have a 4-legged animal running around my apartment. But for now, living here, doing the thing and enjoying life. So yeah.
Love that. Love a good 4-legged friend. Sydney, you're next.
Okay. Hello. So I am in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, which it's like snowing like 8 inches right now. But so I kind of, after graduation, took a long trip around the world to find my place in Minnesota. Between playing on the women's national baseball team for 2 summers and traveling the world and volunteering abroad, I've started doing AmeriCorps Vista. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but basically 2 years of service in Minneapolis at a school that teaches English to adult immigrants and refugees. Loved it, and I'm now getting my master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages, probably to go back abroad and to teach. But I absolutely love it. I love being in Minneapolis, though hopefully this is my last winter for a while. Definitely want to move to like a tropical island after this. Yeah.
Wow, that's hard to imagine. It was like sunny and 60, 65, 70 today. Kristen, you're next.
Okay, so I currently live in Hoboken, New Jersey and work in New York City, although currently working from home and have been since March. So I currently work for a financial consulting firm. I have a CPA, so started working in public accounting after college, and after 3 years moved on to consulting. So yep, I live here with, I actually recently adopted a dog back in July, and he's been great, but he's a puppy, so it's a lot of work. And everything else is great with my family. My parents are both retired now, so you know, we're just all enjoying life.
All right, I have to ask, what kind of puppy? Is it a mutt?
Yeah, so he is a border collie lab mix. Yeah, he's very cute. A lot of energy, but he's adorable.
Love that. All right, Ray, you're my last one.
Yeah, so I currently live in Hamden, Connecticut, which is right above New Haven, and I work at Boehringer Ingelheim in Ridgefield, Connecticut, which is a pharmaceutical company. I'm a scientist there, which is really exciting because I did biochemistry at Bucknell, and that was always my goal, is to end up in the science field. So I've been doing that for the last 4 months, as I am a pretty recent graduate of Bucknell. I live with my boyfriend, Tom, who is also a Bucknell alum. He was on the rowing team at school, and I'm right by my parents, which is great, still in Connecticut. and actually another tie to Colgate. My sister goes to Colgate and she plays for the softball team there. So yeah, things are going well, doing well. You want to say hi? Yep, Tom wants to say hi. All right. Yep, that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, so Coach, I think that's everybody, right? So I'm going to throw it back to you. And as a new coach, I want you to give everybody a little bit of your background and tell everybody how your experiences have been at Bucknell since you've been here.
Yeah, so for you guys that don't know, I actually go by Cy. I think like Fazio, most of us in softball world, we don't go by our actual names. You have to have like one syllable to be yelled out at all times. So I'm Coach Cy to the girls. I spent the last 5 years at Penn State, which is why I feel like I kind of know Bucknell in a weird way. I at least know your stats and how good you were against us. And I served as the recruiting coordinator and pitching coach, catching, a little bit of everything, whatever they tell me to do, right? And prior to that, I had stops at Texas Tech and Utah State. I admire you guys with the big girl jobs because I totally, from day one, I'm going to coach and this is what I want to do. I didn't ever plan to be a head coach. It kind of just worked out for me in the last few years of what's next and where do I want to go. So it's been a really, really crazy. I think it's been about like 45 to 50 days now. So I'm obviously very experienced as a head coach and it's been really fun. Somebody on the last call described Bucknell as not so much of a place, but a feeling. And that really resonated because even in my short time, it's been such an easy transition and the people are great. I'm actually in the head lacrosse coach's apartment. She's at practice. She lets me stay with her pretty much 3 days a week as I transition to Bucknell full time. My husband works in development at Penn State. So we kind of went through that. Where are we going to live? Who's going to actually do the commuting? And I actually won that battle. So I'm really excited about that. And so we are in the process of moving to the Lewisburg area full time, which has been really, really fun. So the people here are great and that's been really easy. And I guess my last thing is I'm a huge dog lover. I met Terry Grebe on my interview actually with Todd, and it was my favorite call. I did a whole virtual Zoom interview. I didn't get to come on campus, which was so weird. But it was my favorite Zoom because that was one of her questions was dog or cat. And I just had this like feeling that it needed to be dog. So he's 6. His name is Winslow. I'd really like to make him the face of the program when I can bring him around more because right now it's an hour and away. So I've brought him around a couple of times. The girls seem to like him. He gets along well. He's a Boston Terrier pug, so he has quite the personality, a lot of sass. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So basically, Jazz and I are going to just kind of go through some questions with you all. It's been really fun, even on the first call, just to kind of hear different experiences. And since you guys are the newest, I think, or like the most recent grads, I think that would make it really fun. So I'll just continue to kind of call on you guys if that's okay. And if you're not ready, you can totally pass it. But the next question is for you guys to take us back to the beginning for you and tell us about your recruiting experience and how you ultimately chose to play softball at Bucknell. I don't know. I guess I'll start back with Fazio for this one, if you're ready.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was in high school, Amanda, I was pretty small. Most of you who know me on this call, I'm not much more than 5'4", and I was probably even tinier when I was in high school. So a lot of my recruiting experience was going to camps. I went to a lot of recruiting camps when I was a freshman, sophomore, junior in high school. And ultimately knew I wanted a high academic setting. That was really where my sights were in terms of schools I was looking at. But Bucknell was one that absolutely stood out from the time I remember I went to camp the first time and was just driving around campus with my dad. And it just had that feeling that everybody always talks about, and ultimately was deciding between Bucknell and another Patriot League school, but Bucknell won the battle hands down. And, you know, they always tell you to choose a school, and not based on the coaching staff necessarily, but somewhere that if the coaching staff would leave, like you could still see yourself. And as most know on this call too, a couple of us were recruited by a different coach than who ended up coaching when we were there, but I don't think it ever wavered our love for Bucknell. And I think that's pretty special. And that was ultimately what ended up being pretty special about my decision.
Love that. Megan, are you ready?
Sure. During the process, I wasn't ever looking at Bucknell. I don't think I fully knew what Bucknell was, even though I was from Jersey. But I actually had a cousin who played field hockey at Bucknell. And so we were going from, I don't know if we were going on a different trip, if we were coming back from a camp, whatever it was, we were driving nearby Bucknell. So she had to stop, took us on a tour, and I just fell in love with the school. I tell people now that it was the fact that every single building was the same brick. I was just obsessed with it. Like, I loved the fact that everything looked the same. It was just so neat and organized and beautiful at the same time. And for those of you who know me, like, you totally get why I'm saying that. But yeah, so I just absolutely fell in love with the look of the school. And it was the same thing with Amanda, that I knew I wanted to go somewhere that I wanted to play competitive softball, but at the same time, for me, it's ironic since I work in athletics now, but for me, I knew that softball wasn't necessarily my future in terms of job. I knew that it was going to help me in my future, but it wasn't necessarily the thing that I wanted to do the rest of my life. So I knew that I really wanted to make sure that I was at somewhere that was going to really help prepare me for my future. I was going to get a great education, but then also be able to have a lot of other experiences along the way, which I kind of started to dive into a lot of different things once I got to campus. So that was it really started with the brick, honestly, and then it transformed into a lot else, but it really just started with that.
I love that. Is this a joke because you're like OCD or like super organized? Is that
Yeah,
what
kind of.
I love that. Same.
Yeah.
Very much same. Sydney, you ready?
Yeah. So I grew up in Texas, and so I came a long way. And I had a teammate who I played travel ball with, and her family is from Pennsylvania. She was a year older than me. She knew of Bucknell. And so when the coach came to recruit her and like check in on her, the coach saw me, asked about me. And I knew that I was really interested because I knew I wanted to probably go more East Coast. I didn't want to stay in the South. I didn't want to go to like a big school. Just like Amanda and Megan, I really wanted a high academic school. And so I came up here, came up to Pennsylvania to see the school and just loved it. Funny though, because I'm allergic to grass, which is hard for a softball player. And I'm highly allergic to the grass on the softball field at Bucknell, specifically. So even though I like had an attack like during the camp, the coach was still interested in me. And so I had to start taking allergy shots to prepare for Bucknell. But it was just an instant, like, I knew I wanted to go. My uncle's an anthropologist, archaeologist, which is what I wanted to study. So he like talked to the anthropology couple professors and just instantly loved the professors, who ended up being one of my advisors and like one of the best people I've ever met, just a huge mentor. So it was just the right place. It was that feeling like you're talking about. And I got involved in other things, big like social justice stuff on campus and everything. So just the whole softball was of course important, but like Megan was saying, I knew there's a life after softball. And so it was, what else can Bucknell give me? And it gave me everything. I absolutely loved it there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Kristen.
Yeah, so I think like everyone else said, I obviously went to Bucknell because it was a beautiful campus, and I loved how there were such great academics, but also competitive athletics. So I remember I was racking my brain earlier just because I can't believe it's been over 10 years since my recruiting process started. I feel very old, and I'm sure some of the other ladies that have been on the other decades calls probably can't even remember what happened, how they even got to Bucknell. But for me, I remember my club softball coach, his daughter actually went to Bucknell. Her name's Lauren Fry. And I don't remember if, he told me about it first or if I just like knew that she went there, but I knew that I wanted to at least check it out because I heard that she loved it. And I remember just going to the camp and doing the unofficial visit on campus and knowing immediately how, there was, like someone said before, there was a feeling while being there. And I do specifically remember during my official visit, I had to go to I think a 6 a.m. lift, and I was okay with waking up and going. So I think knowing that, okay, this is what life's going to be like here, and I'm totally cool with it, was something special. And all the girls, were so welcoming. That was the biggest part too. It's just everyone seemed like they loved each other, and I didn't get that same feeling on other campuses. So I knew even if softball wasn't a thing anymore, these people love being here and going to Bucknell. So I knew that I would get the same thing.
Love that. All right, Ray.
So even though I'm the most recent graduate, recruiting went so quickly, and it was just such a whirlwind at the time. I'm sure everyone can remember that type of feeling. But I actually never was seeking out Bucknell. It kind of just fell into my lap. One of the coaches saw me when I was playing somewhere, I don't even remember, and they invited me to come on an unofficial visit. And I did not want to go. I absolutely did not want to go. I never had heard of Bucknell. I knew that it was in the middle of Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere. I was like, absolutely, I'm not going to this. And my mom said, you are going. So I have her to thank for getting me onto campus. And pretty much immediately when I stepped on campus, I was just like, yes, this was a good idea to come, and this is the place for me. And kind of echoing what everyone else has said, the meeting the team for the first time, you could really tell that everybody, even that far back, has just had such great chemistry, and they love softball. More importantly, they loved each other. So that was a really big thing for me. Also, wanting to do science, I was a biochemistry major, so I had to make sure that it was a school that was going to let me do everything that I needed to do. I did lab credits pretty much every year I was there, and that was super important to me, and Bucknell allowed me to do that. So high academic school really gave me everything that I wanted, and I'm so happy it fell into my lap.
And I bet your mom loves getting the credit for that. I know my mom would.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. This is her favorite story to tell.
I love that for her, and I don't even know her, but I know that probably gives her a lot of joy because moms love a good win. I'm gonna turn the next question over to Jazz.
Okay, hello. So the next question is, what advice would you give me or any current player in our program today about the college softball experience at Bucknell? Oh, sorry, Amanda.
Yeah, awesome. I'll lead the charge here with the questions. Honestly, I was thinking a lot about this one, especially having the opportunity to still work with college softball players every day. You'd think I'd have an easier time answering it as a coach. But honestly, I think it's more about being in the present moment when it's there and it's happening more than anything else. Like I spent a lot of time in college, always being on the next thing. And I think that's very much like a high achiever mindset of a lot of Patriot League student athletes. Like if once you get an internship, then you have to get a job, or if you get a good grade in a class, then you have to get a better grade, or, if you hit a double, you have to hit a home run the next at bat. Like there's just always something more that you're striving for. And I think that's really good in a lot of ways. It's going to get you really far. But looking back on it, there was a lot of things that I think I missed. I was there, I was present, but like I missed savoring the moment of it because I was already thinking about the next thing, or I was already trying to figure out how to strike out the next batter. Like I wasn't focused on my teammates necessarily all the time, like giving me high fives and like loving the moment at that time. And looking back on it, like that's all I remember. That's all I remember is the times with my teammates, not the times that I spent so much time really focusing on and trying to be that high achiever type A person with, to kind of what Meghan was speaking to earlier. So I think just finding ways to be in the present and look around you every once in a while and be like, this is awesome.
Wow, I think that's really good advice, because even you just saying that, I was like, I do that. I definitely do that. Okay, Meghan.
I kind of, this is actually a much harder question than I would think it is. Like, I'm on the same boat, Amanda. I think first and foremost, kind of just piggybacking real quick off of what Amanda said in terms of like living in the moment, but then also just like taking advantage of the dumb moments with your teammates and with your friends and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it's 4 years and then people go across the country and you stay in touch. Like my class has been doing Zoom happy hours and stuff like that. And Ray and I FaceTimed like last week or something. So you still stay in touch, but it's definitely a little bit different going from when you're seeing them for the majority of every single day to then moving into completely different areas of the country. Because especially my class is completely scattered. So just making sure to take advantage of like even the bad times that you don't necessarily want to be together, because being together means that you're like conditioning or doing something that you really don't want to be doing, but making them fun in some way and just like creating as many of those little moments that Amanda's talking about to remember. But then the other thing, like I will always be maybe very preachy about getting as involved as you possibly can. For me, like I said, I love my class. One of the best things I did senior year though was that I lived with 3 people who were on the volleyball team, and just like expanded who I was friends with and stuff like that. And it really helped me. But then also just getting involved across campus. So Jazz, I know you're very involved because I know you, but in terms of people who are younger, like I was an RA and I did a lot of other things to one, just meet new people, but just have some really awesome experiences that are some of the main things that come to my mind when I think of Bucknell in general. So just like doing, and that's something that Bucknell and even the softball program give you the opportunity to do, is actually branch out and do all these other things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you gave me that advice my freshman year. Just go out and do something. And I was like, okay, I will. All right, Sydney.
I definitely second, well, really what Amanda and Meghan said, but especially what Meghan said, I was someone who was really involved outside of softball also. I was part of this group on campus called Common Ground, which is a student-led, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was a student-led retreat during fall break about focusing on social justice. And it was, I mean, that's a whole nother family that I have from my Bucknell time too. So I second that, but my main one, kind of a bit more like Amanda's, is just to have fun and enjoy it. It's life after college is so different, right? But one thing I learned from our time at Bucknell, which was definitely was not always easy, right? Being a student athlete at a high school like Bucknell is hard, right? But then also playing ball after college really taught me how important, like, and hopefully it's okay that I say this, but like ball is not everything. I mean, it can be, if it's your passion, it can be everything to you. But to me, someone who focuses on social justice every day of my life, right? Like this is my perspective of least, like, it's not the most important thing in the world, right? There's life, it's not life and death. I mean, it can be your passion, right? But what I'm saying is not life or death, right? So it's about like the high anxiety that we have from playing a college sport, things like that. It's about the relationships. It's about, being with your teammates, enjoying it. Our junior year, so Kristen, my junior year, that year was just a different mindset, and we focused on having more fun, and it made a huge difference. And that year we won a lot. We didn't win the championship, but we still won a lot of games, right? So it was just, that year taught me that it's about having fun, because softball is a blessing that we get to take part in. And just because we're not getting every hit, or we're not, like, it's not life or death. It's about having fun and enjoying what we love, right? So that's for me, is to really enjoy it and be with your teammates. Those relationships, support each other on and off the field is so important.
Thank you. Okay, Kirsten. Oh, Kristen.
That's okay. No problem. Yeah, so I think just to kind of echo the same sentiment, like I would say don't take anything for granted. I know, the first, I think 2 years of my college career, like, both academically and with softball, really flew by. And, like I made the best of it and I had a great time and, played pretty well. But I feel like I wanted to like slow down a little bit and be like, I need to enjoy this because we only get 4 years of college. And I mean, I guess some people get more, but I didn't. I'm hopefully never going back to school. So we only get 4 years of this. And I really want to just, kind of push the brake a little bit and be like, what do I have to do to enjoy this and get the most out of my last 2 years of college? So I think, especially because we play a game of failure, which is a lot different than many sports, it's so easy to get down on yourself. And I know like I certainly was someone who would get down on myself when I wasn't getting the hits or I was making errors, or even in school, getting bad grades. Sometimes, I mean, I didn't do it that much, but if I ever got a bad grade, I would beat myself up a little bit. And I just kind of needed to, take a step back. And I hope that, all of the girls currently in school can do that too, because like everyone else said, it isn't life or death, but it is super important to us. That's why we are playing at this level. So, I know everything can be like incredibly challenging mentally, but also it's super rewarding and it's something that I'll always remember and I'll always wish I could go back to. So that's just, something I wanted to touch on.
Okay, thank you for that. Next, Raeanne Geffert.
Thanks, Jazz. I mean, Jazz, I had the pleasure of playing with you for the last 3 years. So maybe I know Jazz a little more than most, but really, I mean, this year was so crazy just because our season was cut short, and that's a whole other thing in and of itself. But really, when I look back at my experience, the things I remember the most is being with the team and having fun with the team, and everything else is kind of secondary to that. Of course, we're getting a good education. Of course, we're playing softball, but some of the relationships I've made at Bucknell are going to last for the rest of my life. And it's just incredible that we had such good team chemistry really all the years that I was there. So, and really everybody has echoed on things that I wish I could say. But my one takeaway would just be, have fun with the team, make those moments count. Especially now, I miss the team more than anything. I miss all my friends. I miss having you guys down the hall from me. And so yeah, just make some good memories with the team for sure.
So, and going off of that question, if you guys are up for it, be to share your most memorable, words are hard. It's been a day. Memorable experience from being a part of Bucknell softball. So like something, it can be anything. We've had a couple of really interesting stories come from this. So don't be shy now. Any story would be a good one. We can keep going in order, or I can let you guys just like volunteers, tribute, whatever is most comfortable. If Fazio likes going first, she can keep it rolling. But I feel like you always have one thing that like pops in your head. So feel free to like jump in.
I can go first. Honestly, if I were to make it simple, I'd say just all of the non-softball times. Like I said, I don't really remember. Yeah, my little guy's coming to say hi. But I don't really remember a whole lot of being on the mound or in-game stuff. But I remember my junior year, so Sid and Kristen's senior year. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it was. we're going to Cleveland State. And if anybody ever says go play in a dome at Cleveland State, just say no. But we did. And it was our first weekend, and like we didn't know, right? You don't really know what you are. Maybe everybody else around you doesn't know what you are. But I think that team knew. I think that team knew that like we could be something pretty special. And I really don't remember any parts of any of the games except that we won them all. But I remember getting on the bus and JC Allman standing at the front of the bus with her phone. And she was like, I'm going to run down the aisle. Everyone's going to scream. And it was like, we were just so excited because I think that was the start of something pretty special for a whole season. But it was like all year you were working for that moment. And it was our first weekend. And I don't know if really anybody thought that we could do that and be who we were that year as a team. But to start that way was amazing. But I think one of the coolest parts is like when it happens that you get to share it with 20 plus other people. And that was like that like I still have the video. I still watch it like every once in a while. I'm scrolling through old videos and I watch it because it just makes me smile every time to think like I don't remember a single pitch of that game. I just remember getting on that bus and we were just so excited for not ourselves. We were excited for one another. So it was awesome.
I love that. Are we going in order? Everybody's good with it? You guys are like, don't change it. Megan, you're up.
Yeah, I gotcha. I do have to say, because exactly, Amanda, when you started saying that, I was thinking JC in my mind. And I was just picturing her video where she's just like, what did we do today? Everybody's just like, we swept. Sid, I'm pretty sure you hit a walk-off, though, to secure. Yeah, see, there it is. There's the memory. I think for me, like, I think about, I'm the only one on this call who's fortunate enough to play with everybody who's on this. So like, I think I'm very lucky for that. And so it's funny because for like each person on here, I can think about a specific memory that like comes to mind with them. That's all a positive memory, which is just really cool. But I think for me, one of the first things that comes to mind is my senior year for senior weekend. It was the first time in 20 years that we took two from Lehigh. Like, it was great. It was the 40th weekend. So there was a ton of people there. So it was just like it was one of those weekends that was just really fun. We did a home run derby the night before. And to be honest, my brother participated and he has like not a lot of hitting skill. And he hit one out and I just freaked out. And so it was just like this perfect thing. So I think about that, but then the next thing that comes to my mind with senior year is actually a memory from right after we got knocked out of the tournament, which is not a time most people want to remember. But that night we were in our hotel in Boston and we all just like wanted to be together because we knew that when we got back to Bucknell, we were all going to be going our separate ways. And so it was like the majority of our team was in my hotel room. Like we had probably 10 people or more squeezed into the two beds, other people lying on the floor around the room. We were watching The Great Gatsby for some reason. That was our movie of choice for that evening, but we were just like getting really close to the curfew. And then our coach came through and we were just like, can we just not have a curfew? Can we just do this? But it was just one of those moments that just embodied that family mentality of, you know, like the seniors, we were all devastated, but we were just like, we just want to be together. We don't want to think about the fact that we just played our last softball game. Like, we just want to be here close to each other, watching an incredible movie with an amazing soundtrack. And it was just like, it makes a sad memory a very happy one for me.
Love that. Sydney.
That just reminded me, I don't know, I have no idea what year this was, so I don't know who was, besides, I know Kristen was there, but I don't know about the other y'all. But in spring break one year, we watched Land Before Time down in Florida. Okay.
That was my freshman year.
Okay, and that just made me remember that randomly, and I was like a bunch of 90 kids just reminiscing on those like classic cartoon that we watched. But that was not the one I was thinking of. I think mine is kind of the general feeling of our Kristen and my junior year. which goes into that senior year, what Amanda was talking about at Cleveland State, which it's funny because I have the worst memory, so I can't remember specific things. But the other day I found the picture of my walk-off at Cleveland State, which I'm pretty sure is the only walk-off I ever had. But I just remember the picture and like running with their like hands up or whatever, so that was good. But that the difference between our junior year and senior year with the other 2 years, like Kristen said, it was a whole different feeling. That year, as I kind of hinted at before, of like, we had just a different philosophy. Like as a team, we decided this of like, we're just gonna have fun playing the sport that we love because it's hard, it gives us anxiety, right? We're gonna enjoy it. And it helped us win. And so it was a whole different feeling. And then that year we did good. And then that carried in over to the senior year with like, we know we're gonna kill it this year. And that first tournament, as Amanda said, we swept. And then we went on, for both junior and senior year, we went as far as the championship. Didn't win, unfortunately. It was just a whole different feeling. But one specific memory, since that wasn't very specific, one specific memory is just something cool that how many people can say this. It was the year that there was like snow until spring break, and we were supposed to play in Baltimore, but it got canceled because of the snow. So we ended up last minute driving all the way to, where is it, South Carolina, I think, yeah. And the only way they could like get us back in time really was Cornell's baseball team, I think. One of their alumni had his own private plane. And so they flew us back to Ithaca with the Cornell softball, baseball, and then Virginia baseball, I think. And we flew back and we stopped in Virginia, right? And then we flew back to Ithaca, New York, and then we at midnight, and then had to drive back to Lewisburg. But like, how many people can say they've flown in a private plane that was that could fit like 4 teams or whatever it was? So that was just something weird and cool that we got to do, to go all the way to South Carolina in a very short amount of time to play, right? Because snow. But yeah.
Yeah, you win. That's like, wow, that's intense. Kristen.
The private plane was definitely better than the time our coach bus air conditioning broke. I think we were going down to North Carolina. I had the pleasure of sitting near the bathroom, so that was lovely. But yeah, so I think on a more serious note, my junior year, Sydney's junior year, we won, I don't know actually how many games we won, but it was the first time we won 30 games in a season in I don't remember how many years. I just remember it was significant. So that was really special for that squad. And then, I was when everyone was telling all these stories, I was trying to think of other more fun, silly stories. And it reminded me, all the bus rides. I remember I used to get so excited and a little anxious to hear who my roommate was going to be that weekend. So I do remember one particular time I was rooming with Laura Sanford and Sophia Gerasi, and we somehow convinced everyone on the team that we got one king bed for all 3 of us. And I think we sent a stock photo from the Hilton website, and everyone was convinced. They were like, oh my gosh, how are you going to sleep in the same bed? Or who's going to get the floor? It got to the point where our coach had to come in the room and make sure we were all situated with a cot. And it was just a joke. So we got them, but that was, we would just always do fun, silly stuff like that. And I do miss those times with all my friends.
All right, Ray, you're up.
So I think it was my junior year. We played Lehigh at Lehigh, and we swept them actually. And I threw a no-hitter, my first and only no-hitter of college, during that sweep. And oh man, that was a great weekend. I think it was one of the first, maybe the only time Bucknell has ever swept Lehigh. So that would be my on the field greatest memory, absolute pinnacle of Patriot League play for us. But off the field, I love all the memories that everybody shared. I think one of my favorite things that has come up over the last 3 years is my teammate Jess Hom makes these videos of a lot of off the field things we do, you know, when we hang out together, because obviously we hang out together all the time, you know, doing homework, just letting loose, you know, whatever it is. But she puts together a compilation of a lot of videos that she's taken and photos that we've sent each other for the end of the year, and we all watch them following our season, you know, just to kind of wrap it up. And it's one of my favorite things I look forward to, because a lot of the things like people have said before, you know, it's hard to live in the moment. A lot of times we forget about what's actually going on, and it's just so nice that she's taken a lot of these videos and we're able to compile it and be together in that moment. Especially this year, we watched it, you know, after our season had been canceled. Everyone was in the seniors apartment, and we all like laid on the floor and like cuddled together and watched this video of you know, the half of the year that we had together. And it was sad, bittersweet for sure, but one of my favorite moments. So yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. My other question is, who was the teammate you admired the most throughout your career here, and why? So you're, you know, someone you looked up to or admired, and why you did that. So we're just gonna stick with the rotation, Fazio. Let's hear it.
Sounds good. Yeah, mine has to be, and it's kind of a weird one because it's somebody who's younger than me, which I think you don't always find. But mine was Selena Antonellis. Did I steal yours, Meghan? Well, mine's gonna be a different reason, so I'm sure Selena would appreciate 2 shout outs. But she obviously was a pretty special person in the program, as you can tell by a lot of people's reactions. But I really looked up to Selena because she was that person her freshman year that was like at practice, always in the wrong place, like doing the wrong thing. And as an upperclassman, it was like, come on, like we gotta get her going. And she is probably now like one of my absolute favorite people on this planet, because just the way she showed up every day and like put in the absolute, I can't even describe how much work she put in on her own time or with each other. But I think more than that, I looked up to her because as I got older and was a little bit at times more of a leader, I wanted to show up every day and like make Selena proud. Like I wanted to show up every day, and if I screwed up, like I felt like I let Selena down. And so she was just always that person for me when things were going good or things were going bad, that she was in the bullpen with me and she would pick me up, or she'd be the first one to come over and give you a hug or like tell you you're awesome. But yeah, as no matter where I was, like she always stayed the same. You know, she always was even keel, and I just always wanted to be the player that I could be, so that I wouldn't let her down.
I don't know how you're gonna top that. My God. Okay.
And she was in my class here, and I had her all 4 years, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. Yeah, also choosing Sel. Honestly, for a lot of the same reasons, to build off of it, like one of the biggest things is that she was absolutely everybody's biggest hype woman. Like it did not matter who you were. She did not even need to know you, and she was your biggest hype woman. Like I remember we would always watch our games, like after weekends, me, Ray, a couple other people my senior year would go into a classroom, do homework, and put the game on because we were lunatics. And every single time somebody hit a home run or something happened, Sel was always the first one up. Like knew it was, even if the ball wasn't out, like her expectation was that it was gone and it was a million miles away. Like that was just because she had such belief in every single person on our team that they were just all going to do amazing things. And yeah, and it just went like so far beyond the softball field, just to life in general. Just, she is probably the funniest person in the world and the most down-to-earth person, but also so incredibly wise for her age that like exactly with Amanda saying that she would look to her. Like we all look to her for things in terms of just general knowledge about life. But then also I joke, if I ever play a game of like thinking about if I were to ever like need to have a political advisor, it would totally be Selena Antonellis, like just for the fact that she's so even keeled. But at the end of the day, just her love and passion to support other people and put other people before her is just above and beyond. And it just, the way that she fights for everybody around her makes you want to go out there and fight for everybody else as well. Like you could be having the worst day in the world and Sel could be having the worst day in the world, but you show up to practice or you show up to a game day, you wouldn't know based off of her. Like you wouldn't know it was a bad day, but then also like she turns it around for you. And all of a sudden you're just like rearing to go. And it's the best day ever. So yeah. Big Sel fan.
I can't wait to meet her. Can I be her best friend?
She's a queen.
I already love her. I don't even know her. This sounds great. Sydney, I don't know how you're going to top these.
I'm not. Wow, great choice, you two. As someone who was definitely a couple years older than her, I 100% looked up to her. But I'll go with someone else for now. But I'm gonna have. Well, this I think is the hardest question because I could have easily talked about any of the 3 players that I played with that's on this call. I look up to all 3 of you so much. But the person I'm gonna have to go with is Mallory Lyons. So she was a year older than me. And instantly my freshman year, she became like a huge like mentor, a supportive friend. That relationship meant so much to me. I played short most of the time and she played third. So I always had her on, my side of the field and just on and off the field, a big support. And what I love about her, kind of like Selena, is can make any moment a happy moment, can put a smile on your face, can when things were hard, she just made everyone laugh and to like remember to like stay in the moment and to be happy. So I really admired that. And then one of the like rituals that we had in every game, we would say, we would go like left side, strong side. So she would say left side and I would say strong side, which meant a lot to me. And then when Meghan took over as third baseman, I like passed that on with Meghan and we did that every game because it meant so much to me to know that no matter what, Mal had my back. I had hers on the left side of the field. Nothing was going to get through us. And then that continued with Meghan. So for me, that Mal was like an intergenerational kind of inspiration of just what to be a supportive teammate is like and what to be a supportive like mentor / older, like upperclassman. So yeah, we'll go with Mallory.
All right, Kristen.
Yeah, so like Amanda, Meghan, and Sydney said, I played with both of those girls that they talked about and totally agree. When I was thinking about this, I honestly wasn't thinking about the, teammates who were younger than me, but I completely agree about Selena. She's really a true leader. And I'm actually going to have to text her after this because I haven't talked to her in a while. So, but, I think when I was thinking about this, I had to obviously shout out to Sydney. Sydney is the only girl on this call that we played all 4 years together. And we were co-captains our senior year. And, I was always literally and figuratively chasing Sydney. I think I always batted after you, no matter if it was 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, we were always just right after each other. And, you always pushed me to be a better player and a better leader. And I always have you to thank for that. And I think, even after college, your passion for the game, whether it's baseball or softball, was really, was really special. And I know you're always going to, go on to do great things. And you're a leader, whether it's, on the field or in the classroom or on the picket line. So I really look up to you, Sid.
Oh, thanks, Zahn.
All right, Ray.
So, obviously I knew Selena, I played with Selena. Great choice. But I'm going to have to go ahead and shout out Meghan Kovac right here because Meghan is absolutely the person I admired the most throughout my years. at Bucknell. On the field, just was always there for me at first base. I always knew I could go to you for a pep talk or a high five, whatever I needed. Off the field, the best friend I could ever have or hope for. I miss all the times that we got to hang out in the classroom, just doing work. But I miss all the times that we would play Just Dance. I miss all the times that we would all be crazy together. So yeah, Meg, I've always admired your work ethic. You were the inspiration for me to want to become an RA, to get involved at Bucknell, to do all the things that I wanted to do. And yeah, thank you for being such a great role model, Meg.
Okay, well, great, thanks. Hey, when I need a pep talk one day, it's coming back to you. Like,
yeah, for sure.
No.
For sure.
Right.
All right, now that we're all sobbing, I'm going to turn this one over to Jazz. She has another question for you guys.
Yes, this is my last question. Okay, what advice do you all have about networking and finding the right job after Bucknell? Oh shoot, I'm sorry, Amanda.
I thought somebody else might jump in and take it for the first.
I was thinking about it, but
I know,
you take it
Zahn,
away.
I kind of like, we had this thing. I thought you were going to do it. No, long story short, I was an environmental studies major in college, and I took a job in a law firm after graduation. And then now I'm in college coaching and mental performance. So needless to say, like whatever I did networking wise was totally different when I was at Bucknell than now. But I think one thing that kind of transcends no matter where I've been career wise is just reaching out to people, whether it's alumni or not, that you're inspired by or you look up to, and like shooting them an email. Because the worst thing that happens is that they don't respond. And like, I always go back to that. And that's actually how I ended up at Tennessee, is I just kind of had a list of coaches that I was like, I want to be you. I think you're awesome. I want to learn everything you know. And I didn't put in there, I want to be your graduate assistant and I want to work for you. Like none of that was in there. It was just, can I talk to you about what makes you really good at what you do? And now that so many people, I mean, I'm talking coaches from the Patriot League that I reached out to, but also coaches at schools like Tennessee. So, and I think every single one got back to me. And that was a pretty cool moment as like a little Patriot League assistant at the time. And now that people have done that for me, like I will always reply to every single email that I get from a Bucknellian or not. So I just think that you can never be afraid to just go out on that limb and reach out, because the worst thing they do is not reply. And I would bet 9 times out of 10 that they do, and they can give you some really great advice. And if they don't, or it doesn't pan out to be a job one day, like you just got 20 minutes of somebody who was giving back to you, which is pretty cool.
Okay, Megan.
Completely agree with everything Amanda just said. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was, this was mostly because I was definitely the type of person, I still am today, where I get really excited about things very quickly. So I think at one point I was like, I'm going to be pre-law because I took a business law class. Like I'm going to go into data analytics because I took one class, because I was a finance major, didn't love finance. I said, well, I'm in it. It's a good background to have, but I don't really want to do this. So for me, I was told once that the way I was looking at it was I was taking a blank sheet of paper and trying to have the one job appear in the center of it, like write it down exactly what it was after looking at nothing, essentially. Whereas what I should have done was have a piece of paper, have absolutely every possibility of what I could do, and then through research, informational interviews, conversations, experience, just start crossing them off until I get to the thing that's for me. So after realizing that finance was not my passion and working in that realm was not something I wanted to do, it's actually my parents who pushed me into looking into working in collegiate athletics. because they knew it was something I was really passionate about. And so I'm so incredibly fortunate for that, because I think a lot of times, a lot of people's parents are trying to get them to go to the finance job and not to the collegiate athletics job typically. So I fortunately have incredible parents who realized what my passion was and wanted to help me get there. So once we had that conversation, I basically went into the Bucknell athletic department, and I was in Terry Greaves' office every single day anyway, but started talking to Terry, and then went to Lauren Wickland, who is the head of student athlete development at the time, talked to people in compliance, talked to John Hart, talked to Maisha. Like, I was just talking to every single different person. Like, Todd, I definitely talked to you at one point, just trying to figure out what the heck your job was, because I totally didn't know what you fully did. And so really just making sure that I knew what all of my options were, so that then when I actually went to go look at what I wanted to do and see what I wanted to get my master's in, I had some sort of information, especially since it is a lot harder for a field where there isn't always a lot of, like, there isn't a student athlete development major anywhere. So that's one of my biggest things, just reiterating with that, is just don't be so set on trying to find the one perfect thing right away. If it takes experience, research, conversations, whatever it is to get you to that thing, that's okay.
Thank you. Okay, Sydney.
I'm going to go for the non-traditional answer, because I'm very non-traditional in terms of my route that I've taken. I think it's so important to get to know yourself after college. Like, you grow so much in just the few years since I've graduated. I've grown so much. And so for me, I was never going to do the corporate 9-to-5 life. That if that's for you, great. It was not for me. I studied anthropology and sociology at Bucknell and loved it. It was my passion to learn about like that. But I knew I didn't want to be a professor because I was done with school. I could not go back to school at that point. I knew so many people who went straight for their masters without, like, really, I think, understanding what they wanted to do. It was just like, that's the path. I get into Bucknell, I go to Bucknell, I graduate, I go get my master's, even if you're not sure what you want. So for me, I know not everyone can do this, and there's different ways of doing it, but I traveled for, like I said, about 2 years and volunteered in different countries, tried different projects, came back, did AmeriCorps for 2 years, which, like I said, so it's kind of like Peace Corps, but you serve in the US. So for me, my biggest advice is to don't be afraid to go down that path, the untraditional path, or non-traditional path. Find what you're passionate about, try different things to figure out. I didn't even know teaching English to adults was a job. And here I am now, right? Because I just happened to find my way here, and to experience things, and like all the things that I've done in different countries, like that and it made me a braver person. It changed me. So I think it's about really like finding yourself to figure out what your path is, and knowing you don't have to stick to one career for the rest of your life. Most people, for a lot of older generations, do that, but us younger ones are kind of stopping to do that. So figure out what's right for you for the next step, and then go from there. But don't be afraid to serve people, try different things, figure out what works for you. In terms of, I never did the traditional like networking at Bucknell. I didn't do that because I didn't know what kind of job I wanted, and but it's so great ideas to talk to different people, figure out different kinds of jobs, things like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Kristen?
Yeah, so, I currently work in accounting and finance. I was an accounting major. And so I did the traditional route where you went to all the networking events, did the interviews and everything. And I worked at the same job for 3 years, and then I'm at the same job now for the last 2+ years. So, I can tell you, just, go to all of the events that Bucknell, holds, because there is a lot of resources, but also, I think everyone will tell you that. So networking isn't always just like going to these events, wearing your business casual and bringing your, padfolio with you with your resume. Like, you could be networking anywhere. And I think we're super fortunate as student athletes in that we have a network of probably hundreds of women who've played Bucknell softball in itself. And I know, like, for me, I haven't taken full advantage of getting to know all the women that have played in the last 40 plus years of our team's history. But I did take advantage at I think it was the 40-year reunion that Meghan talked about earlier, and getting to know some of the women who've played over the decades. And I would say, I actually haven't had the chance to meet you yet, Jazz, but I think that taking advantage of getting to know even people like us, we know that we have so much in common because we've gone through the same thing, probably a lot of the same things as Bucknell softball players. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice, is to get in touch often and early with a lot of these alumni, because it's a huge network, and we're really lucky.
Thank you. Okay, Ray.
Yeah, so I think for me, I always knew that I wanted to go into science, and I always research was always a passion of mine. So I guess for me, it was a lot more of deciding what I cared about in science rather than, picking which job I was going to do. I wanted to be a scientist. It's just, what did I care about? So a lot of my networking came from talking to professors at Bucknell and figuring out what they researched, what they were passionate about, why they cared about this thing, and seeing what really, sparked something for me. So a lot of my network was talking to, professors at Bucknell. But even more than that, I went to a lot of the job fairs, and I did reach out to Bucknell alumni that were in the science field, that worked at pharmaceutical companies, because I knew that was the path that I wanted to take, and all of them were very receptive. So I think you can always count on a Bucknellian to at least answer your message. Maybe they won't be able to help you, but I've only had a positive experience with that. So really, again, putting yourself out there, starting to find the right connections to what you want to do, all of those types of things. And I think Bucknell can really help you with that, with just our alumni network, for sure.
Sorry. My temporary roommate just came home, and we have these really awesome whistles that they gave us that don't require you to put them in your mouth. And I just heard her sound it off upstairs, so I had to laugh at that. But I have one more question. I want to be really conscious of your time tonight. But the last question, and you can be really brief with it, is more for me and not the student athlete experiences. I know some of you have had multiple coaches in your career here. So my last question is, what's one piece of advice that you guys would give me as a new head coach of Bucknell softball? So I'll kick it to you, Fazio, one last time.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I just think that the more, even I've worked with student athletes, and I'm sure you've noticed it too, Size, that they just want to be a part of your life. And they just want to, they want to know that you have a dog. And I think that's awesome that, you bring them to practice and stuff like that. I think some of the best moments that we had with our coaching staff was the barbecues at their house, or the potluck things, or watching MLB postseason baseball, cheering for our favorite teams. We knew each other as people first, and then athletes and coach second in a lot of ways. And that was just really important, no matter what we were going through, and what the wins and losses of our program had to.
I love that. Thank you. Meghan?
This sticks on my theme. I would say get to know them outside of the softball player, and support them outside of the softball player, and this is definitely on theme to my job as well and what I do now, but being the foremost transformative years of their lives, it's being able to support them off of the field and a lot of things that they're doing. I mean, the end goal is definitely win a championship, but then also make sure that when they're walking across that stage at graduation, that they're feeling like they're in the position to not just succeed at life, but succeed and have fun in life and be happy and all those things. So I think it goes beyond and supporting them at events that they're doing and stuff like that, but then also give them the space to talk to other teammates about it, and really just be able to have, because hopefully they're all passionate about softball, but be able to actually show and thrive within their passions that are outside of softball.
Thank you for that. Sydney?
I think mine kind of goes off of what I was saying earlier of how important it is to have fun playing this game that we've committed, our life so far up to this point. So like just making sure that there's space for fun, because I think our junior and senior year, we worked hard, but we were having fun playing this game that we loved, and that's why we won. And I just like with that, like talk about mental health with your players, because I don't think I think it might, like a concern I have about athletics in general is that mental health is not discussed, and that as I said earlier, we're playing high anxiety sports, and it means a lot to us, but having fun, having times for relaxing, and being able to just breathe and enjoy the time, I think is so important for student athletes' mental health. And so having conversations about that and how to really just relax with your players is so important.
Love that. Kristen?
Yeah, for me, I think my best piece of advice would be to have an open door policy with your team. I never really liked going to talk to my coaches in their office outside of softball, just because I always felt like it was like a chore, or that they were trying to pry into something. So I think when I did take advantage though of actually just talking about my game or my personal life or school, I did get a lot out of it. I think if I was more open and I felt like they were more receptive to just talking about anything, I could have gotten a lot out of it. So I think just to always have that open door policy, and also to encourage people to come and talk to you.
Thank you for that. Ray, my last one.
Yeah, so really short, really sweet. Communication is key. Absolutely 100% be as transparent as you can be, as quickly as you can be, because it really makes a difference in every student athlete's life to know what's actually going on when it's actually happening, and not having information be withheld or changed in any way, just really being as open as possible with everything.
No, thank you guys first off for your feedback. It is really helpful. I have pages and pages of notes, and I really do take this to heart, because I think it's so cool to hear other people's experiences to something that I'm just walking into. And I know what I have right now, and I want to be whatever I can be for them, right? And it is so much deeper than I'm not just a coach, right? Softball is such a small piece of even my life as a softball coach. Softball is still a very small piece of who I am. So I really appreciate you guys giving so much great feedback. It's going to take me so much time to digest this and color code it, Kovac, and then put it into some kind of file of some sort. But I really, really appreciate it. I know this got kind of long, but I think that's a sign of just a really good conversation. So I appreciate you guys for that. It's so nice to meet you guys virtually, and I'll kick it back to Todd.
Thanks, Coach. And I'm going to kick it right over to Jasmine and just say, Jasmine, thank you again for taking the time tonight to be on the call. And we wish you the best of luck with the rest of the semester. You guys have all done a great job staying safe here on campus. And it's amazing, that we've had 31,000 COVID tests since the semester started. And we've only had 19 positives the entire time. So that's a testament to what you and all of your fellow student athletes and students here at Bucknell are doing. So thank you. And we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this spring you're playing competitive games and winning the Patriot League and knocking that Colgate team around a little bit. So I wish you good luck with that. And then ladies, thank you so much for making this work. Thank you all for what you did on the field and off the field here at Bucknell while you were student athletes here, and what you've done since then. I'm going to try something right now, and I hope it works. I'm trying to share my screen. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Okay, the reason I'm sharing that is because there's a woman on this call who made it very possible for every student athlete at Bucknell to be finally recognized for all that they've done while they were a student at Bucknell. And that's earn a student athlete sash at graduation. And without Meghan Kovac pushing that through, the student athletes at Bucknell from that point forward would not have had that. And we've been trying to get that done for years. And Meghan, I know you did a lot of hard work with that. And I appreciate you doing that so that the student athletes here at Bucknell could have that opportunity. So thanks again for that. And then for those of you at home that were watching tonight, thank you for doing so, and go Bison.